Muy buenas tardes. Muchísimas gracias por asistir a esta rueda de prensa de presentación. Estamos a la mitad del festival, un festival que ha sido un éxito gracias a todos los que han abarrotado todas las presentaciones del festival. I would like to welcome Jaron Lifshift and Christopher Colette from the Circa. You're welcome.
Thank you.
We're very, very happy to have you here. We're going to go and just go ahead and do an English version of this press conference. If you don't mind, I will keep talking Spanish during my introduction. Circa es el motivo y concretamente el estreno en Latinoamérica de Opus, el motivo por el cual a finales de 2015, después de presenciar en vivo lo que ustedes están a punto de ver el día de mañana, decidimos que Australia era el país invitado. Sin lugar a duda, la presentación de Opus como parte del Festival Cultural de Mayo el día de mañana es una de las obras más extraordinarias que se han presentado en 22 años de festival. Es un proyecto que en lo particular pusimos un enorme esfuerzo por absolutamente todos los que participaron para que esto fuera posible. Circa viene a presentarse en la Filarmonía de París la semana pasada con un éxito rotundo en París. Seguramente la gente el día de mañana y los días subsecuentes van a presenciar lo que yo considero es el punto de quiebre o uno de los puntos de quiebre de alguna compañía de circo en donde podemos sin lugar a duda ver que una disciplina del circo se convierte en arte puro. What I'm saying, Jaron, is what I really truly felt when I saw this play. I think that you have break points as a company sometimes. These break points probably, especially what I felt, you know, when you cross from doing a discipline of circus and doing true art. So I truly believe, and thank you for this, you know, this is what really pushed the bottom line of me, of my heart, and to really, really work on this project to be seen by our community. So I'm very happy for that. And, you know. Entonces este es un proyecto que realmente trabajamos, pero como pocos, la verdad. Lo que la comunidad jalisciense y todos los que asistan van a ver en días subsecuentes va a ser una cosa realmente increíble. Les doy a todos ustedes la bienvenida. Quisiera yo pasar el micrófono a Jaron, posteriormente que Julia nos platique un poco de cómo salió el curso hoy de circo, que tengo entendido fue una maravilla, y después con el maestro Christophe, a quien le enseñamos ya ahorita el folleto de cuando hicimos Francia como país invitado, y al parecer sí conoció a muchos de los artistas que invitamos. En fin, Jaron, the mic is yours.
What would you like me to talk about?
Whatever, you know, about the production, about how you feel here.
Sure.
I mean, we were going to open o quisieran ustedes hacerle alguna pregunta, no sé. Yeah.
No, you go. Well, it's incredible to be here. I've never been in Mexico before, and I just came this morning from teaching a workshop with how many? 15 acrobats from Guadalajara, and it's there's obviously a really exciting community here, and some fantastic energy. And we come from Brisbane in Australia, which is not the main city. And I think sometimes being a little bit on the edge of culture is a good place to be. Christophe and the quartet come from Lyon. And just last week we were in Paris at the Philharmonie. So a circus company from Australia and a string quartet from Lyon invaded Paris. And we like this idea, I think sometimes making art from the edge, working beyond where you're comfortable, and in a different language. And for me, the language of circus is not the language of words. and the language of music is complex. I think so to work in spaces where you're a little uncomfortable is a very important and noble and good thing to do. The other thing that I just want to say is there's another partner in this, which is Dmitri Shostakovich, who's the composer. And Shostakovich was possibly the greatest Russian composer of the 20th century. And he lived a very difficult life in very hard political times. It's very easy when you come from Australia to not really understand the challenges and sufferings of others in times of political oppression. And I think Shostakovich shows us how we can lead lives that are full of emotion and richness, as well as being whilst trying to retain authenticity and truth in our voices. And it's his spirit, I think, that runs through and connects the quartet and the circus.
Good evening, everybody. Well, I will try in English. If my English is not good enough, there is a very good translator. Julia speaks so well the French. Maybe she could translate, but I try to start in English. Well, of course, we are very happy to be here. It's the first time for us in Mexico. We tour many countries, but never here. And what is very special for us is to stay 1 week there and to have time to understand a little the town where we are and to discover incredible things. We come from France, as Yaron said, from not the major city, not Paris, but from Lyon, which is, I think, it's quite similar with Guadalajara, second town. And I think it's quite similar because it's a big town where many things happen, but it's not a huge town where you are lost inside. So we've been, the Debussy Quartet was created 30 years ago. Well, I was quite young. I was two years old when I started the quartet. So 30 years, touring all over the world, and making at the beginning a lot of concerts. Well, we still do a lot of normal concerts, but it was very important for us at the beginning of the quartet to think how to bring the music to the more and more people coming to see circus, to see dance, to see hip-hop, and then to discover music. And this project around Shostakovich is very important for us. Shostakovich is one of our... I need you. Shostakovich, c'est un des compositeurs les plus importants pour nous. 20 years ago, we met at a concert in Paris. A lady coming after the concert telling us, well, you play so well this music. When my husband wrote this quartet number 8, so it took me a few seconds to realize when my husband wrote this quartet, it was Mrs. Shostakovich there. And she loved the concert, and she asked us to record all the Shostakovich quartet. She told me, well, I would like that you are the first French quartet to do this. So we did this, and I promised her to bring this music to the most people I could. So we did all the quartet cycle maybe 30 times all over the world. Then we have to think, I want to put Shostakovich on stage because this music for me is so strong. I like to have dance, I like to have gymnastic, and when this project arrived, it was for me le bonheur absolu. Parce que je trouve que le corps des athlètes de Circa correspond à la force dramatique de cette musique. Et toute l'intelligence de Yaron a été de bâtir un spectacle en partant de la musique. et d'arriver à intégrer le quatuor au milieu des corps des acrobates. Pour qu'à la sortie, on n'ait pas l'impression qu'il y ait un quatuor et des acrobates, mais une seule grande compagnie.
Pues a ver, platícanos
¿Yo?
de lo que sucedió hoy
¿En el taller? Fuimos al taller hoy de Circa. Tuvimos 15 acróbatas. Esto se hizo por selección y fueron principalmente los creadores y dirigentes de las compañías de circo en Jalisco. Fue una experiencia muy enriquecedora para todos porque les abre las puertas a conocer una nueva forma de crear, una visión diferente, y estaban todos muy contentos. Nos gustaría que sucediera un poco más. En Jalisco hay una gran cantidad de creadores que tienen muchos deseos de seguir creando, innovando. Y algo que nos aportó este taller fue también no solo en la parte de cómo crear, sino en cómo buscar una identidad, que creo que es muy importante compartirlo, porque sí creo que en Jalisco hay una identidad circense y el taller de Circa también aportó mucho a que los creadores puedan seguir tomando estas herramientas para crear una identidad de circo en Jalisco.
¿Alguna otra pregunta? She wants to know about how do you prepare to present? I mean, the previous preparation for this show, and also the narrative of the whole show. You know, how do you get there and then develop?
It took about 40 years. It was sort of, the show took really a life of working in the arts to make. Shostakovich is so incredibly important music to me, and it's something that I feel deeply, particularly because it's both very emotional and very formally complex. So these are both things I like in art. We started working with the quartet. We did three development periods. We worked together over almost a year in blocks to make the show in different sections. We were touring and doing many things between, but it was a year to make the show. We have a methodology at Circa. We work from improvisation, from four-space theory, which is a methodology that we've developed, and many techniques that we use and adapt to make this show. I don't really tell stories. I don't see the world as a story. I see the world much more like a poem or a song. So I'm not. There's a shape to it rather than a narrative. It's a movement towards light, towards some kind of out of the darkness. It starts with a piece that he wrote when he was very young. He was a student. It's a short elegy, adagio for strings, and that's really a study of a single person hanging on in the air. Then we go into the 11th quartet, which is short, jagged, kind of frozen, cracked piece, kind of looking very much at the pressure and the way in which people crack apart. Then the 8th quartet, dedicated to victims of fascism, but also I think a kind of suicide note for a composer at his limits. probably the central quartet of the 20th century, some might say. I certainly think it's one of the most, if not the most important string quartet written in the 20th century. It's a quartet that also involves a lot of Jewish themes, and as well as self-quotation and DSCH, Shostakovich's initials, encoded in the music. So it's music that is written with blood and from the inside. It's not music you can just listen to. It's music that infects you and that you feel. And then we move to the fifth quartet, which is more organic, more human, more alive in some ways, as if the dawn is breaking and there's some kind of hope and human connection. The acrobatics become freer and more intricate, and we build things as a group, where the group before is much more oppressive. The first part of the show looks very much at the individual and the group, the power, the private. Sorry, just a slight sidebar, but in Shostakovich's life, the orchestral pieces were highly political. An orchestra is an instrument of the state. But the quartet could be played in a room like this upstairs at the Moscow Conservatoire with 4 friends that were in the Beethoven Quartet, as they were called, and it was private. So the quartets were the place that Shostakovich could reveal his most intimate and human and fragile and complex kind of experiences, rather than just the big scale music. And so this, for me, is very much the move, that this relationship between the private, the personal, the emotional, and the public and the political is a tension that runs through the show. It's kind of its dramatic question: how can I be me when the world is like this? And I think it's a question that we all have to try and answer freshly for each generation.
Yeah, perfectly. A ver.
What's your approach to circus in Mexico? And ¿cuál era la segunda parte? ¿Y cómo cree que el público tendría un acercamiento con la propuesta escénica que va a traer? And how do you think the public is gonna have a relationship in between, like the proposal of Circa and the circus community?
So my experience, I've never been to Mexico, but we've been to Colombia, to Brazil, to Chile, and the company's been in, I don't know if the company's been in Mexico, but my experience has been that the audiences are very loud, very vocal. They're incredible audiences. And our job is to try and control that. So we're going to use a lot of our technology and energy and cognition to try and bring an audience very intimately and powerfully into the work. And we'll fail at some points. They'll start to clap and they'll enjoy it, and that's fine. We know they do that. They did this in the Paris Philharmonie too. But we have to try and control that. I expect that the work is very simple, very powerful emotionally, and I think that's what we want to try and reach an audience with. I hope that they enjoy it. I hope they feel excited by it because it's circus and it's good physicality, but mostly I want them to feel something strong. And that's what we're going to be trying to calibrate the show to do here.
Yeah, we were talking about this correlation in between the dancers and the music. So how do you connect? I mean, what's the the main point of this connection.
Do you want to start with Christophe?
Again, the question. Français.
Et on est en train de parler qu'il y a une approche entre la musique et le spectacle. Et comment est-ce que vous pensez que vous allez réaliser cet ensemble sur scène?
Je crois que c'est un spectacle qui est parti de la musique. Et ça, c'est un point très important. Parce que souvent, je compare Circa, pour moi, c'est du cirque, mais c'est aussi de la danse. Pour moi, c'est le corps qui parle. Et souvent, quand on travaille avec des chorégraphes, la musique n'est pas la chose primordiale, c'est plus le mouvement. Or là, Yaron est un mélomane, il connaît plus de choses que moi en musique classique. I was saying that you know more than I do about classical music. Et donc, tout à l'heure, on parlait de la musique. Quand on a bâti le spectacle, une chose que n'a pas dit Yaron, c'est qu'il y a une dramaturgie qui était le travail de départ, une dramaturgie dans la musique. Et on le voit sur. Vous le verrez sur les. Pour moi, il y a 3 scènes. Il y a la scène d'introduction, puis après il y a les 3 quatuors dont a parlé Yaron. Et ils ont chacun. Il y a une sorte d'étirement du temps. Et d'étirement aussi de l'intensité dramatique des 3 quatuors. Il y a 3 quatuors, c'est 15 minutes, 25 minutes, 35 minutes. Le premier, c'est 7 parties, 5 parties, 3 parties. 5, 3. Ce qui fait que chaque partie devient de plus en plus longue et de plus en plus puissante. Et le corps des circassiens, alors je ne vois pas tout, vous comprendrez demain qu'il y a une des parties que nous ne voyons pas. Mais je sens que le corps des circassiens suit cette dramaturgie musicale. C'est-à-dire que ça devient de plus en plus puissant et les tableaux qui sont fabriqués dans le 5e quatuor, vers la fin, c'est des choses absolument extraordinaires, des grandes pyramides de corps. Ce qui était frappant dans les premiers moments de développement avec Yaron, une fois qu'on a fait connaissance, qu'on a écouté les quatuors et qu'on les a choisis, c'était que tout le premier travail, c'était de faire comprendre la construction musicale de chacune des pièces aux circassiens. En termes de structure et puis de caractère. Mais c'était surtout la structure de chacune des pièces. Donc le spectacle vraiment suit cette dramaturgie musicale et à l'intérieur la structure de chacun des mouvements. Donc c'est vraiment une seule chose. Et puis, je voudrais juste rajouter une chose, parce que c'est la promesse que j'avais faite à Madame Shostakovich. C'est quand on avait joué à Paris, quand elle était venue nous entendre, on avait joué le 8e quatuor. Et j'avais présenté au public en disant que c'était dédié à la mémoire des victimes du fascisme. Et elle m'avait dit, avant de me dire qu'on jouait très bien et qu'elle voulait qu'on enregistre, elle m'avait dit, attention, ce n'est pas que ça, c'est un testament et un requiem qu'il écrit pour lui-même. C'est pour ça qu'il y a tout le temps ces lettres DSCH, comme Dimitri Shostakovich, sa signature. Et puis dedans, il raconte sa vie. Et la chorégraphie ou ce qu'a fait Yaron, c'est exactement ça. Vous verrez que les musiciens, nous sommes Shostakovich, et que la vie de Shostakovich était comme une vie en prison. Donc il y a une sorte d'enfermement de l'artiste, d'enfermement du compositeur, le tenir, l'empêcher de faire ce qu'il veut, lui faire peur, lui dire qu'il va être fusillé, lui dire qu'il va être déporté. C'était ça la vie de Shostakovich, toute sa vie. Jusqu'à la libération, qui était la mort de Staline en 1954. Et là, c'est un moment où on nous retire les bandeaux, et là, c'est la vie qui revient. Et ça, j'ai toujours promis à Madame Shostakovich que je dirais la vérité sur ce 8e quatuor.
Cuando se liberan, tanto los acróbatas como ellos, y él dice que le prometió a la esposa que siempre va a contar la verdad de cómo fue esta pieza creada.
Merci.
Es el cuarteto, exactamente. Sí. Yo en lo particular, I personally have to put my own story on Shostakovich. You know, the first piece that I have ever heard in my life, when my dad first came to me and showed me what I was a little boy, he gave me the Shostakovich Fifth Symphony and the Brahms Second. And then I have this story when the president of Austria told me, if Austria has to give you something, what it would be. So, I had this big opportunity to see Valery Gergiev with the Vienna Philharmonic playing Shostakovich in the middle of the Golden Salon. So I have my own personal story with Shostakovich. Yo quisiera regresar y para terminar esta rueda de prensa, todo lo que aquí se dijo, realmente a mí me ha ayudado en lo particular y en lo personal a dar por qué es que quedé tan increíblemente tocado por la presentación de Opus hace más de 3 años y que esto me llevó a trabajar todos estos años en que Australia fuera el país invitado. Creo que nada de lo que aquí he expresado puede superar o reflejar lo que van a ver y presenciar y sentir los que asistan a las próximas 3 funciones de Circa. Yo estoy muy, pero muy emocionado. Ya, I'm very moved and very into opening the doors tomorrow in order to be part of what I'm sure is going to be a total artistic and a connection success with our community. Estoy seguro que lo que va a suceder mañana va a ser una total comunión con lo que considero es una de las exposiciones más hermosas, bien logradas que he visto en mi vida. Entonces, no se pierdan Opus mañana. Muchas gracias y pues nos vemos. Thank you for being here.